Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Saren. Today I'm here as a moderator for today's discussion. Our topic today is what culture should be taught at EFL classroom. Then the goal of this discussion is to know and dealing with target culture need to be taught by teachers at EFL setting. Member of the group is Aurelia Nada Eriska, Diah Putri Nalicia, Fetri Santika, Renaldi Valentino, and me, Serendra Kencana as moderator. Now let's start our discussion by providing this topic. First, my opinion about this topic is, I think as teachers, we are always looking for ways to make our lesson interesting, right? To achieve that goal, cultural activities and objectives should be carefully organized and incorporated into lesson plans to enrich and inform the teaching content. The use of following materials and techniques for presenting culture in the classroom is widely recommended. First, authentic materials. Using authentic sources from the native speech community like films, new broadcasts, and television show, websites, and photograph, magazine, newspaper, restaurant menus, travel brochure, and other printed materials help to engage students in authentic cultural experience. Secondly, using proverbs as a way to explore culture also provide a way to analyze the stereotypes about misperception of the culture as well as a way for students to explore the values and that are often represented in the proverbs of their native culture. Third, after learning about ways of addressing different groups of people in the target culture, such as people of the same age and older people, students could role-play a situation in which inappropriate greeting is used. Fourth, exchange student, immigrant student, or student who speak the target language at home can be invited to the classroom as express sources. The students can share authentic insight into the home and cultural life of native speaker of the language. Fifth, an effective way for students to learn about the target language and culture is to send them into their own community to find information. Students can carry out ethnographic interviews with native speakers in the community, which they can record in notebooks or on audio tapes or video tapes. 6. Literary works can be an effective means to develop the understanding of other cultures because they provide their readers with insight of other cultures without having to visit the real place. 7. Film and television segments offer students an opportunity to witness behavior that are not obvious in text. Film is often one of the more current and comprehensive ways to encapsulate the look, feel, and rhythm of the culture. Then I would like to invite Aurelia to give her opinion.
Okay. According to the information I got in the EFL class, learning English should not only include learning the element of language, which include grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and language skill, which consists of listening, speaking, reading, and writing skill, but learning English also can include learning or at least an introduction to British culture. Learning culture in this language is very important given the importance of understanding culture in intellectual communication. It is very important for English teacher to pay attention to the element of English culture in learning English so that the students are able to use the language they are learning to communicate. For students, knowledge of English culture will help them understand the situation they face or when reading to listening to English text. In addition, explore of the prevailing culture in a community using language being studied will also increase their understanding and tolerance of other culture. One of the reasons why culture knowledge needs to be integrated in learning is that a person's behavior of speech can be interpreted differently by listening of speech from different cultural backgrounds. That is why if it can be said that understanding other culture would increase understanding of one or own culture. In learning English, as our biggest language, culture can be taught in an integrated manner with learning to listening, speaking, read, and write. The teaching material present are replicate of a situation where the language is used in a natural culture setting or context, such as cultural literary, cultural, and social linguistic elements present in learning material and activity. Culture, literacy, should be taught for against language learning classes because they are real desirable advantage to both teacher and students, such as increasing perspective in something that is not normally seen or seen or felt. Students can also see other people's point of view, debating, explaining, or giving opinion. There are many ways that I can use to improve student culture literacy, for example, of the use of authentic material, effort, wordplay, student exchange, ethnographic study, and literal. The following is the description. One, use of authentic material. Can use content, escape, site, photo, magazines, newspaper, restaurant menu, travel backgrounds, and other print material to be teach culture. This can involve students in discuss about the culture norm represented in the example, for example, watching film that have different culture contents. Two, proverb can discuss common proverb in the target language that can focus how today are different background. For example, the proverb is ready for umbrella before the rain, which means one must be careful or anticipate before something bad will happen. In Western culture, there are also proverbs that have the same meaning but with a different delivery, namely make hay while the sun shines, because in the Western culture, there are a four seasons. Farmers have to be one of alert to make hay during the summer. Meanwhile, in Indonesian, the proverbs make rain because Indonesia only has two seasons, namely summer and rainy season. So, the two proverbs have the same meaning but are obtained from different cultural background. Okay, next three, role play. In role play, mostly may miscommunicate based on cultural difference. For example, how to deal with different group of people in the target culture, such as people of the same age and older people. Students can play a role in a situation where inappropriate speech is used in a cultural context. Other students try to be observed this game and identify the reason for miscommunicate that can occur. Fourth, student as a source of culture. Exchange student, immigrant student, or student who speak target language English at home can be invited to class as native speaker. These students can share authentic insight into home life and native culture of the language. Five, ethnographic study. One effective way of for students of learn about target language and culture is to have to look for information by concluding ethnographic interview with native speaker in the community who they record notebooks or audio tapes or video tapes. And last, literature. Literary text often contains culture and evocative information that impress the reader. Text that are carefully selected for specific group of students and right purpose can help students gain insight into our culture. Uh, about the conclusion of this topic, textbook can also be a medium that can be used to introduce cultural literacy. However, you must choose correctly so that culture balance is maintained in order to support students in understanding the multicultural that are around them. Its category of short culture, target culture, and international can help them improve their communicate competence. And for example, short culture can help students adopt language material, adapt in the context of short learning, and know the purpose of communicating. Target culture help avoid problematic miscommunication and failure. International target culture will make it easier for students to communicate and express by using English as a lingua franca. It can be said that culture should be taught to students to learn more about their language potential in learning English as a foreign language. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Aurel. Vetri, what do you think of this topic?
Uh, okay, I think my opinion is almost the same as Sharon and Aurel and this. One, use the alternative materials. Teacher can use pamphlets, the brothers website, photo, magazine, newspaper, travel brochure, and other printed material to each culture. Two, proverbs. Students can discuss common proverbs in the target language and can focus on how the proverbs in the student culture background. Three, role play. In role playing, students may miscommunication based on culture difference. Four, student as a source of culture. Exchange student, immigration student, or student who speak the target language. Student can be invited to class as native speakers. The student can serve outnet insight into the native speaker of the language. When efforts or for students to learn about the target language and culture is to have information by conducting ethnographic interview with native speaker in the communication or in notebook or audio or video tabs. I think that's enough my opinion. Back to moderator.
Okay, Vetri, I agree with that. How about Diah Putri? What do you think?
The purpose of English learning is generally so that students can communicate both orally and writing in English properly, smoothly, and acceptably. This means that English learning should include learning elements including grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, and language skills, which consist of listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. But English learning should also include, or at least, English cultural recognition. It is vital for English teachers to observe English cultural elements in English studies so that students can be able to use the language they are learning to communicate. For students, English cultural knowledge will help them understand the situation they face when reading or listening to the English text. Additionally, exposure to cultures that apply to the language communities being studied will also increase their understanding and tolerance of their culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dia, for your opinion. Then I will ask Renaldi, what do you think of this topic?
Uh, the objective of the teaching of English at EFL classroom, whether it is at elementary, uh, junior high or senior high school, is generally to enable the learners to communicate in acceptable English, both orally and in writing, in order to help the student achieve the objective. English learners should be equipped with knowledge of English culture in addition to the language components, EA grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. In reality, however, the cultural aspect of English are not seriously undertaken. Some preliminary observation on textbook show that textbook writers do not pay serious attention on the cultural aspect of the language. This condition is worsened by the fact that some English teachers then to teach their students using the material presented in the textbook as it is. This happens firstly because teacher make assume that what is presented in the textbook is both linguistically and culturally appropriate. Secondly, they might think that culture is a different subject that should be covered by others teacher. This point of view is contradictory to the fact that the language and culture are closely intertwined so that the teaching of a language cannot be separated from that of its culture. This paper discusses the close relationship between language and culture and how teachers of English can introduce English culture while at the same time teach the language. That's my opinion, Dara.
Okay, Renaldi, thank you. Now, the next page. Next slide. The conclusion, after providing background on culture in the classroom and the pedagogical literature, it was argued that current EFL teaching is indeed culture teaching due the three reasons. First, culture and language are inseparable. Second, an EFL teaching is a foreign culture teaching in order to facilitate the students to experience acculturation. And third, a sound grasp of the background knowledge of the target culture is necessary for anyone to communicate successfully with the speaker of the language. To achieve that goal of cultural instruction, cultural activities and objectives should be carefully organized and incorporated into lesson plans and enrich and inform the teaching content. The use of authentic materials, proverbs, role play, culture capsule, ethnographic studies, literature, and films for presenting culture in the classroom is widely recommended. I think it's enough for our discussion today. I hope it can be useful for you. Thank you for joining and take care of your health. Hopefully the COVID-19 pandemic will end soon. That's all for me and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Yo.
Have a nice
Thank you guys.